Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be doing some best of one. We're going to be playing some Enchantment Control with my favourite card from Theros Beyond Death, which I haven't played too much, surprisingly. I only really played it during the streamer event, so I thought I'd come back and build a list with this one again, trying it in the old Constructed event. I tried it in Brawl, didn't have much luck with it to be honest, but yeah. This is Enchantment Control, and it's built around Athreos as kind of a lock piece. There's a combo, which we will see in the gameplay today, where you can basically recur Cavalier of Dawn and Elspeth Conquers Deaths for the end of time, as long as you've got them around. So the idea is that we end up ramping up into Athreos Shroud Veiled, a 6-mana 4/7 god who is indestructible, and as long as your devotion is less than 7, it isn't a creature. At the beginning of your end step, you put a coin counter on another target creature, which can include your own, or it can be your opponent's. Whenever a creature with a coin counter on it dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. So what we want to be doing is putting coin counters on important pieces of our opponent's strategy or our own. The main one we put it on is essentially Cavalier of Dawn, being a 3 white and 2/4/6 with Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, you get to Vindicate, basically, and give your opponent a 3/3. And when it dies, you return an artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So it allows us to recur Athreos if we've lost Athreos somehow, either through like discard or mill, something like that. Mostly it's to recur Elspeth Conquers Death and Doom Foretold. Those cards are basically the primary thing for the Cavalier of Dawn's secondary ability there. And it's really cool when you've got an Athreos, because you can put a counter on Cavalier of Dawn. So when it dies, it returns, which means you get use of the Enters the Battlefield ability again. And you also get to use the Dies ability. And this goes with a nice little combo, as I mentioned, with Doom Foretold, because that means you can sack your Cavalier of Dawn to Doom Foretold on your next upkeep. And you can basically recur Cavalier of Dawn, which means you got infinite permanence, effectively, for the Doom Foretold. So you're never going to run out. This is always going to get you full value once your lock is in place. And I think your opponents realise that eventually, and they end up scooping, because you get your Cavalier of Dawn back, you blow up something that's better than a 3/3, and you keep recurring it. We do have Archon of Sun's Grace as well, a 4-mana 3/4 flying lifelink, gives us pretty decent game against the mono red when we find it. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature token with flying, and obviously it's also a little bit of a Lord-esque effect by giving the Pegasus, the lifelink right there. So really nice at going wide. Don't see this card too often, honestly. This might be a flex slot, because it just never really... I never draw it, and I still win. So it's a weird one. I know this deck definitely needs tweaking, but I feel like if I tweaked it to make it better, it would be less fun. So that's why I'm going to leave it well alone. We're using Final Payment as well, which also doubles down as another sacrifice option as well. Again, to use the Athreos coin counters to our advantage. We can use Final Payment as a white-black creature removal. As an additional cost to cast it, you either lose 5 life, sack a creature, or sack an enchantment. So the enchantments that we've got to sacrifice, which are pretty decent value, Treacherous Blessing being one of them, allows us to draw 3 cards, but then it gives us a downside of beating us for 1 damage whenever we cast any kind of spell. But if it becomes the target of a spell, you get to sacrifice it. So you can kill it to a Cavalier of Dawn and things like that. And you can also sacrifice it as part of an additional cost to Final Payment. Really works well with Doom Foretold as well for exactly the same reason. It's just very nice. And it's recurable with Cavalier of Dawn, so we got that card advantage going for us. I also have the Birth of Meletis as well, which after Chapter 2 really drops off in value depending on the matchup, so you can really fire this off whenever you want. You can actually even do Final Payment in response to the Chapter 3 trigger as well. Which is pretty decent, so you get the full value out of it, then you sacrifice it, which is not something that always happens, but it's pretty cool for that reason. Oath of Kaya, decent removal. Kaya's Wrath, blow up the board, it's very nice when you've got loads of coin counters out there, and yeah, that's essentially it. Banishing Light for a catch-all, and that's going to be the deck. The mana base doesn't have anything interesting. I don't think mana bases are particularly interesting when it comes to standard. Got 4 temples, so we can find our pieces, Godless Shrines, 2 Lochthwains, 2 Arden Vales, just because we can, and 3 Fable Passages to thin the deck. 9 times out of 10, you probably want to be going with Swamp for Fable Passage, since you've got the 3 Birth of Meletis here, which can only get plains, so You get a nice balance of thinning then if you go for the swamps, but obviously you want to pick the land that you need at the time, so, you know, fixing for Kaya's Wrath, fixing for Final Payment, things like that, pretty damn important, so we've got lots of dual lands in the deck for that purpose. Without further ado, I'm going to get into the game, so hopefully you enjoy the content. If you do, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Okay, we're in, and double Athreos is definitely not great, but the rest of the hand's fine, I guess. We can sack Birth Meletis to Final Payment as decent removal anyway, and eventually get to Elspeth Conquers Death and start doing Athreos shenanigans, so I'm going to keep this one. Use the Scry to find something good. That's a little bit of early game removal. I'm not against that, actually. If we just ramp, make our land drops up the curve, having removal as we go, we should be in a good enough spot. Alright, so Banishing Light for Witch's Oven is definitely something I've got in mind, because I'm assuming this is going to be Mono Black Devotion, and keeping their board clear of black pips is basically the general idea of the list. Alright, let's get rid of our spare Athreos, because it's useless. And yeah, we just take the 2 Devotion. Oh my god. Wow, that's... If you could pick the worst possible card to draw, you'd be looking at it. Yeah, we're going to sack... they're going to sack Yarok's Fenlurker to the Witch's Oven, which is totally fine, because if we end up getting Doom Foretold, then Banishing Light... Oh, they're not, actually. Okay. I was going to say Doom Foretold has a free enchantment to sack, but opponent really wants their Fenlurker under that Banishing Light. There's Ayara. Alright, I want full control. I did click full control, you all saw it there. I was going to sack Birth Meletis in response with Final Payment to kill Ayara, but we live on, the game doesn't want us to win. This is fine. We'll get over it. Go away, Ayara. Keep those black pips off the board. No Gary for you. This time they got to do their Witch's Oven. Maybe the game didn't give them priority as well, like it didn't me. It would explain a lot. Land, please. Murderous Rider, a 0/4. Oh, you are so welcome to that decision. That's totally fine by me. Alright, land go. We got an open Banishing Light to sack here, which is nice. Don't care about the Murderous Rider, though. The Fenlurker, we have a spare Athreos for. So that's totally fine. Get rid of that. You know, when you flood, it's just totally fine. Yeah, I kind of think that we get rid of some pips here. I mean, it's 2 pips regardless, so yeah, let's just sack the spare Banishing Light, and we'll get rid of... Might as well just get rid of Murderous Rider. Fenlurker, once it's on the board, is not going to do much more than the Murderous Rider can. So let's get rid of you, hope for a land drop. Make a food token, totally fine. My job's done. Eee, look at that. Beautiful. Alright, and then we get rid of the black pips on the Fenlurker. Usually when I'm going up against Mono Black Devotion, I end up playing... Oh, yeah. 3 or greater. Never mind. I end up playing decks that don't have a lot of removal, which is basically what Mono Black Devotion preys upon. So it's nice to actually have a deck today that has a chance of winning. Just out of pure coincidence. You know, we're just going to pass again. It's not a very good draw. We needed a land for an Athreos. We don't have anything to get back with Elspeth Conquers Death. It's Chapter 3, unfortunately. But typically, don't really expect to. Lochthwain, take 3. 3 mana remaining, and they got nothing. Treacherous Blessing's not bad. Almost guarantees a land drop at least. And being on 19 at this point, don't really care too much about the downside of this card. for quite some time. So there's a Doom Foretold, Temples, all of this stuff's nice. Okay, so we'll play a Temple, since we can't make good use of the 3 mana. And yeah, Cavalier of Dawn's really good with Athreos. It's real good with Athreos, and Doom Foretold as well, comboing. You put a coin counter on Cavalier, you sack it with Doom Foretold, it comes back, it blows something up, and you just kind of back and forth it like that. It's very fun. Alright, so we do need to actually keep useless cards in our hand now, so I'm not going to make my land drop here, because I think this is probably the card I want to sack to the Fenlurker if they do Witch's Oven it. I mean, let's do that. I'll force you to do it. Just do it. So if they sack this now, it comes under my control, I think. I don't know if this is a replacement effect that replaces my effect, but yeah, they can do it in response, which is basically what I want them to do. Let's get that job out of the way. Don't have to worry about it. There we go. Okay. So they got 4 pips. Could be 6 with a Gary, that's totally fine, being on 17 and having life gain in our deck. I'm going to take another 3. Sweet. Our deck doesn't win very quickly, so the more damage they take, drawing their own cards, the better. Well, I'm going to take another 3. Is that just I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of that was. Alright. Let's go with Doom Foretold then, I guess. Yeah, let's do Doom Foretold. We take 1. We're going to put a counter on Nightmare Shepherd, which will force them to sack it, but the more they sack it, the less they've got for Doom Foretold. They're just going to let that counter go on, eh? Okay. I mean, it makes sense. We're at a very low life total at this point, which they could probably push that advantage, but we have Kaya's Wrath, so now we know Nightmare Shepherd's going to come back under our control. They get rid of a Witch's Oven. We've got a Treacherous Blessing. Knight of the Ebon Legion. I think we're going to get garried. I think that's what's happening here. I think we take 5, they play Gary, they sack Gary, and we lose, as usual. I really hate this deck. I hate it so much. What you doing? Murderous Rider. Alright. Draw and take 2. We're at 6, we're going to blow up the world. We're going to get rid of Treacherous Blessing so we don't take any more damage. And this is when the magic starts to happen. So let's get rid of your board and we get back a Nightmare Shepherd, which we can sack to Doom Foretold on the next turn. So totally fine there. Going to turn them into food tokens. Okay. They want to be doing this with their Nightmare Shepherd. Literally does nothing for anything else except for make food tokens. And exiling it doesn't make too much sense to me, but to each his own, I suppose. Okay. I get him for 4. They're at 5. We get a counter on that Nightmare Shepherd, so we're keeping it. We get rid of a Witch's Oven, and we just have to dodge Devotion Gary, basically. Murderous Rider on my Nightmare Shepherd gives me back my Nightmare Shepherd, and they lose 2 life. Athreos comes back again, so that served no purpose. And then they got 4 mana. They then kill Nightmare Shepherd. Okay. Sure. At this stage, I think with the Cavalier of Dawn and the ability to just blow crap up constantly, I think I might just get rid of Doom Foretold. I think I can probably handle everything they can put out right now. Sorry about the ambulances in the background. I could give him a Fenlurker and then blow it up, but I'm going to lose one of these two. I'm just going to get rid of Doom Foretold. I don't think I need it. Another Kaya's Wrath. Definitely don't need that. That's something I didn't need. Okay, I'm gonna blow up the Devotion. Trade a 2-3, lifelinker for a 3-3. But it's a little bit more than that. It also gives me the ability to keep that Devotion off, and Gary just comes down as 2 Devotion, essentially, off of a top deck. And we're going to put a counter on Cavalier of Dawn, so if it dies, I get to blow up a permanent again, so it's pretty cool. I can use these Kaya's Wraths to kill my own Cavalier of Dawn, for example. And if it dies, I get back Doom Foretold as well, so I can loop it that way, which is really fun. I really need a way to gain life. We haven't got enough of Kaya in this entire game or anything like that. Hello! Speak of the devil. Alright. I am going to send this at my opponent's face. And then I'm going to send this at my opponent. Vigilance and the security of a good old Kaya's Wrath are both things that are protecting me here. Okay. Making tokens, which I can blow up. They've got a lot of life gain in those food tokens. That's for sure. Alright. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna wipe the board here. And then Cavalier gets me back Doom Foretold, and Cavalier comes back and blows up Witch's Oven. And yeah, pretty good. Then we've got some sack targets. We can keep going for the grind. The grind is the important part here. The ability to do that is key. So yeah, let's go for another game. Alrighty then, we're in, and on a lovely string of recurring things, we've got Athreos as a double in our hand again, with not much going on in the early game. This doesn't usually happen with this deck, but the moment you hit that recording button, you are cursed. Anyone who's done any kind of content creation will understand this, unfortunately. I'm probably going to keep it, though, on the Temple of Silence, being able to scry here. And obviously having Athreos is quite nice. So, let's see what our opponent's doing, really. Do we want a Fabled Passage first? Because it does ruin our scry if we don't use it first. I guess we might as well. Let's get it over with. We will grab a Swamp, since we've got Birth of Meletis in our deck to grab Plains. It's just a little bit easier to grab that sort of thing. And yeah, I should have known by the sleeves. My opponent is a red boy. But yeah, North of Kaya's going to be reasonable, I suppose. Birth of Meletis, I think I could do without. It does have 2 gain life there on the 3rd chapter. I don't think that's a good enough reason to keep it, though. So the fact that we've got 2 more lands here and we're not going to need a land drop until the turn 5 draw really speaks a lot to it. Ooh, are you skipping your land drop? Or is this try hard, go straight to 2nd main before making your land drop kind of play? It is! Alright, cool. There's an Embercleave, which we shall do our damnedest to make sure never happens. So let's go Oath of Kaya, gain 3 life off the Fervent Champion, and take 2 damage off the board as well. So Embercleave's unaffordable here. So at least that we've got going for us. And we want a Banishing Light, the Robber of the Rich, I guess, because it's going to hit all our good stuff. I think that was a land. It was. Kind of wanted that land, but at the same time, things like Oath of Kaya's and Kaya's Wraths are all very nice as well. So, you know, really can't be too upset by that. So, do we get rid of... I think we get rid of Robber of the Rich, because Scorch Spit is doing its thing already. The only reason I'd want to get rid of Scorch Spitter over Robber of the Rich is for... Chandra's the 1-3 that wins you the game when you play it. Other than that, though, they're going to be getting lots of card advantage from this. I don't want them in the game after this. Typically, I have a good game against mono red, but not with this hand. We have a lot of life gain, and lots of ways of attacking their permanents, Doom Foretold's, Kaya's Wrath, things like that. We just haven't found any, which is typical. But here we are. You gotta get used to it. Final payment. Alright. Better than nothing, I suppose. I think I'm gonna go Cavalier and potentially just hit my own Oath of Kaya. So I have 2 bodies on board. And we're only dealing with the Phoenix of Ash at that point. I think that's a decent enough play. And see what we can do now. We're taking 2, so we're at a virtual 8. Could be 7 if they went to just go Embereth, but I imagine they've got burn spells and other horrible things in their hand anyway. I think this is them doing their math on trying to push for lethal. Whether or not they should attack in with like their Scorch Spitter to just get that extra point of damage for lethal. It's definitely a consideration at this stage. I've also got to make those kind of guesses as to what's going to happen here. And I need a good card. I need a Kaya's Wrath. That'd be really nice. Because it would get me an Oath of Kaya and kill the board, obviously. Which has its value. We get 2 life as well from Kaya's Wrath because we kill our own creatures. It's one of those things that doesn't crop up very often, but on the odd occasion, you do gain life equal to the number of creatures you control. Yeah, I think they are doing the math. Okay. Well, I am going to block with my Cavalier because honestly, like, if I get the opportunity to get this back, I'm adding a lot of time to the board by using it. And it's a decent enough target for final payment as well. Embercleave, yeah, so surprised. And then we're in basically anything they play is lethal range. And anything we do is not good enough range. Okay. So we swing. We're gonna final payment the Phoenix of Ash. With Cavalier of Dawn, and then we get back Oath of Kaya, and we go up to 6, killing Fervent Champion. Is that actually a decent enough play? Could just... It's definitely... We definitely have to kill something here. I think we need the life gain. I think it's very important. So I think we have to kill Phoenix of Ash with Cavalier of Dawn, so we get the enchantment back to our hand. So we can then Oath of Kaya, the Fervent Champion. Gain 3 life. And then they have to get another creature on board. This does have Escape, so they can't do it, obviously. Go to 3 and probably still lose, but we've got to work with what we've got, and we haven't got much, so... Phoenix Ash does its thing. We go to 3. We probably die to... Oh, ho, ho, ho. Oh, beautiful. A gift from the gods. Thank you, my fellow Theros deities. Do we pass? I think we do, because if they've got Fervent Champion equipped, that's going to be grim. How many cards? They've got 2 cards in the yard, so they can't get back the Phoenix of Ash just yet. I'd love to be able to get down an Athreos so we can start ticking on any creatures they do play, but it's probably not going to be the tempo we want to see. Something more like Archon of Sun's Grace, or even Cavalier of Dawn to kill Embercleave, I think would be pretty decent. Anax. You hate to see it. You truly, truly do. So, Doom Foretold sacks Ember Hauler. They get a Satyr, which cannot attack the turn it comes out. And then they Embercleave, and we lose. There is literally no out there. So, let's see what we would have drawn. It's final payment, and we still lose, because now we are at 2, and Ember Hauler does its thing. Well, that was a bit awkward from start to finish, wasn't it? Let's go to the next game. Alrighty then, we're in, and we got the Birth of Meletus, which we can use as a sack option for final payment. Archon against aggressive decks is going to be pretty decent as well. Just a nice 3-4 lifelink that generates 2/2s constantly. I think we're fine with this. I think we lead off with Fabled Passage Swamp and use the Temple later. We don't really mind having a land off the top, which I think is maybe the worst thing that we could draw. Obviously, not necessarily ideal, but if we do draw it, I'm not going to be upset about it. Alseid of Life's Bounty, so it could either be Pridemates, or it could be Boggles of some sort, perhaps. Let's get the Birth of Meletus going. We get to thin our deck, make a 0/4, which can temporarily block the Alseid if it is the Boggles strategy. Looks like mono white life gain. Okay, well that means that I get to final payment something, or in this particular case, I think I'm just going to Oath of Kaya Daxos. Since it's a pretty big life gain engine there. Triggering off of enters and dies triggers. So opponent can get in for 1 life, this is totally fine. I think we got this game in the bag. Nice untapped land for Archon would be nice. I mean, sure. Works for me. Let's go Archon. Now we got a 3/4 with lifelink, and I don't know if our opponent can necessarily come back from this as a Pridemate deck. We have final payments, which can be sacked on the Oath of Kaya there. We've got a board wipe ready to go, so they can't really establish a board. And yeah, it's a right nice non-game for our opponent. Cool. Alrighty then, and this hand's almost good if I didn't have 2 swamps in it. I've been taking lots of risky hands recently, and it's not a good idea, so I think I'm gonna mull. And wow. Okay, board wipe City, we've got sack outlets for the Doom Foretold, so this is another risky one. It really requires me to get good land drops. So I could go a little bit deeper. There's chances of another garbage hand. And is this hand just good enough? I don't know if the odds are really in my favour that I get what I want over time, especially the fact that I'm on the play as well means I don't get that extra draw. I'm going to mull again. And sure. Why not? Athreos in the trash, and Kaya's Wrath, I think? It's got Ardenvale. I think it's Kaya's Wrath, because we already have certain removals around that time bracket. We've got Treacherous Blessing, which I'm really begging the Magic Gods to let me cast on turn 3. You've punished me enough with those previous hands. Oh, thank Christ for that. Alright, Temple of Silence is the black land that we need. Another Elspeth Conquers Death. Against something that's likely to be something like Pridemates. I think I'm going to bottom it in hopes of getting some cheaper removal, like Kaya's Blessings, Banishing Lights, things like that. I mean, this is already the answer to Heliod as well, so with that in mind, I think we're okay. What on earth is an Ancestral Blade doing in Ranked? Silver Ranked, to be fair, which is the best place to play Magic, because it's not all net decks. It's some net decks, but not all net decks. And, yeah. No shade to anyone who enjoys net decks, but I am about as far from net deck loving as it could possibly get. Alright, we need to go Fabled Passage for a swamp, and then that allows us to wipe this board, and I imagine they just explode into a fiery mess at that point. Because honestly, our turns from there on are just disgusting. So, yeah, let's wipe the board, take 1. Next turn we can Cavalier of Dawn, either hitting our own Treacherous Blessing, or firing off on something cool they hit. Ajani, Strength of the Pride. Yep, that's dead. Make a Pridemate. Ooh, an Oath of Kaya. Got nothing for the Chapter 3 Elspeth Conquers Death just yet, so I am more inclined to a certain degree to go for the Cavalier of Dawn. They've got this blade, so Doom Foretold will not get rid of Ajani. Not this turn. Becomes the target of a spell, sack it. I kind of think we want to Oath of Kaya and get rid of Ajani before there's more primates to deal with. It's just how I decide to do that that makes all the difference. I'm going to lose 1 for playing Oath of Kaya. I kind of like the more mana efficient play, to be perfectly honest. Just get Cavalier of Dawn out there. It's a pressure point that also allows us to block both the token we're creating and the Primate token. There's no way they can get above 4 toughness here. I don't believe it. And now they can go like another Ajani or something like that, and I can go Elspeth Conquers Death. Which, if they get rid of my Cavalier of Dawn, now has an active Chapter 3. If we draw a land drop, I'm more inclined to go Athreos first as well. Is that actually an equipped one? Oh my, are they actually getting... They're getting their Primate big enough, aren't they? Wow. Good for you, opponent. Good for you. I didn't think that was possible, but you showed me the way. Actually, hang on. It's a white creature. Oof. Oof. Opponent didn't read the cards. Same as me. Alright, well, I think that means that we win now. Athreos, take 1. On our end step, we're going to put a counter on Cavalier of Dawn. So if we ever lose Cavalier of Dawn, it comes right on back and gets to destroy a permanent. And we're basically in lock mode now. Because the only thing they can do really is really aggressively attack me, and I don't think they've got the capability of doing that right now. Doom Foretold can get rid of Treacherous Blessing. It can also I can use it to sack my countered creature as well, so I get to recur Cavalier of Dawn whether I like it or not at a certain point, which is really nice. But yeah, the sticking point here is the fact that I'm on 10 life, so we'll have to see where that goes. They've got a Loxodon. I'd love a Wrath, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Let's go swinging first, see what they have. We've got Vigilance, so always want to be attacking. They let it through, which is not surprising at all. And yeah, I think the fact that they've got Ancestral Blades makes this a little bit awkward, but we can go Oath of Kaya, kill the Ancestral Blade token. Basically lose 2. Maybe I should have done this pre-combat. The fact that we have our Athreos devoted up is a good indicator that that's maybe a good idea. But now we get Doom Foretold going. We will put a counter on Linden. So if Linden ever dies, it comes back under our control, which we can kill our Cavalier and target their Linden. So yeah, they're going to start sacking Ancestral Blades, it goes without saying. I think the first one we sack, though, is going to be Treacherous Blessing, because we can't really justify the amount of life loss that we're going to be having from this if we don't sack it. So I'll just get rid of it. It's also then a target for Cavalier of Dawn, which is fine. Alright, so we're taking 5. I've got a block on the Ancestral Bladed token, so this is totally okay. Yeah, Athreos can block that just fine. So, yeah, we take 5. Nothing really dies. And then we get rid of Treacherous Blessing, so we stop losing life. Another Cavalier of Dawn is very good. Very good. Right, yeah, we have no good attacks now. It really serves little to no purpose, honestly, to be doing any of that. I guess we go Elspeth Conquers Death on Linden. Get Linden. And we could attack him with Athreos if we really wanted, and it would gain us a life. but I don't think we need to do that. I think we'll just pass. We'll put a counter on the next permanent that Doom Foretold might force them to sack. But again, they'll go for Ancestral Blade. There's no reason to lose their Loxodon at this stage. And 3 blockers to their 2 attackers. Even if they manage to get another Unbreakable formation, I don't think we're too bothered about that. Spare Linden, okay. Could give me a decent enough reason to block with the Linden. Yeah, I think they realise they're locked, because Doom Foretold can just allow me to sack my Cavalier, and it comes back, and I get all the enchantments out of my yard, which means I can constantly recur Treacherous Blessings. I can recur Elspeth Conquers Death, which can also reanimate Cavalier, so it's kind of like a nice little lock. It's, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4 card combo, which actually comes up fairly often since they're pretty fundamental parts of the deck anyway. So, yeah, pretty good. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for today's video. Sorry it's a little bit short, but I am running a little bit low on time today, so if you do enjoy the content, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, all that jazz. Really appreciate it, anyone who decides to do that kind of thing. And yeah, I'm going to end it off here. See you later, guys.